Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Executive Deputy President and CTO of Sony Group Corporation, Hiroki Kitano.
As a technologist and a researcher, I've always been fascinated by how technology can expand creativity, especially when it comes to world building. What we mean by world building? World building is a process of envisioning something entirely new, the world no one has seen before. Turning those ideas into the reality. Now, there are many ways to create for creators to bring a world to life. But every new world starts with four things. First, dynamic cast of characters that the audience can root for. Second, environment for our characters to inhabit. And third, compelling stories to prepare us through the world. And finally, ways to engage with the story. Well, this could be a new type of interaction scheme in gaming or film production technique that gives viewers a new perspective. Whether it's a game or a film, those worlds serve an important purpose in a society to enrich human lives and expand the worldview. Those worlds might be faithful reproduction of real life or a space that defies every law of physics or somewhere in between. Well, personally, I love sci-fi, science fictions. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to disappear into bold vision of the future. But even the sci-fi, in order to create such a world, artists need tools that can bring their wildest imaginations into life. And that's why Sony exists. We are here for creators. We help creators build and deliver transformative experience. Now, last year in SIGGRAPH in Los Angeles, I spoke about how technology sparks new forms of creative entertainment. This year, I want to take it further. I want to share how Sony technology helps creators transport people into a new world. You will get to hear directly from 3 Sony creators about how technology is expanding the way they tell stories. Well, as you know, Sony has a long history helping people experience new world through iconic electric devices and technologies. This spirit of technical exploration has been part of Sony's missions since the beginning. Well, and speaking of beginnings, let me tell you my own story here. My own entry point into world creation was through computer science and artificial intelligence. My career started at the practical started at the 80s, developing a natural language processing system, NLP, at Carnegie Mellon University. Even then, I was motivated by the potential for NLP to support large-scale real-time translations. Actually, I implemented a large-scale, massive data-driven translation system on a massive parallel supercomputer. Also, I developed a text-based adventure game to explore how NLP could become a tool for storytelling. But actually, I built the same split as adventure game Zoke. You know Zoke? Yeah. You know, it's a classic. You know, I played Zoke 1, Zoke 2, hours and hours, right? It starts from your standing in the open field, and you have a white house in the west, okay? And there's a huge underground empire you explore. You know, this is really fascinating. So I decided I just want to create my own version of that. And I decided to build my own text-based adventure game, use a technology called Augmented Transition Network to understand natural language input from the player. The agent in a game would use those input to navigate unknown planet. That was a very fascinating experience for me. Well, then a Japanese game publisher, very famous one, later licensed the game that I developed. Great. But unfortunately, the game never made it to the market. Wow, that's life, okay? Some win, some lose, fine. But a decade later, it served as an inspiration for one of my first projects at Sony, that the 3D Society for Internet we called Virtual Society Project. Our output for this project was Virtual Reality Modeling Language 2.0, VRML 2.0. That was a joint project, joint proposal with Sony and Silicon Graphics at the time. A description language for in-browser 3D graphics to help people create world and communicate online. Well, it's really fascinating for me to look back this work now and remember what excited me about them. Well, the idea that people could build a world and communicate with others in the real time from across the globe. It was a rewarding challenge, and equal parts technical and creative. History of PlayStation perfectly illustrates a spirit of collaboration between technologists and creators. Well, just 2 days ago, the PlayStation brand celebrated its 30th anniversary. Yeah. Well, it's remarkable, 30 years, okay, I would like to take a moment to recognize the impact that PlayStation has had in a gaming world. Advancement in 3D graphics and rendering, haptics, and sound. And those technologies enable the game developers to create immersive world with engaging character, vivid environment, and dynamic interaction scheme. So let's take a quick look at evolution from 1994 to today.
You having a good time? PlayStation 3.
Greatness awaits.
PlayStation.
Thanks. Oh, it's really exciting to celebrate 30 years of world building by developers in a massive scale. Well, going back to my own story again, I'm a huge fan of Formula One. So obviously, one of my first choice for the early title in the PlayStation title is Gran Turismo. Back in 1997, Gran Turismo raised the bar of the racing game. Kazunori Yamauchi's team at Polyphony Digital has been developing for PlayStation console since the beginning. The graphics technology enabled a new level of the realism. You could see windows reflecting in the sun, and each car felt unique to drive. It was like being in a driver's seat in a real car. Well, while he couldn't be here today, we called up Yamauchi-san to share his thought about this exciting milestone for the PlayStation brand. Yamauchi-san, please.
皆さんこんにちは。グランツーリスモシリーズプロデューサー山内です。かれこれ30年ぐらい、グランツーリスモシリーズを作っています。僕らポリフォニーデジタルはソニーグループの会社です。僕らが設立以来のテーゼとしているのは、世界の森羅万象を計算可能な存在にするということです。この世界をコンピューターでシミュレーションしたいということですね。 この哲学は今でも変わっていません。シミュレーションとは複雑な自然界を、何らかの方法で計算的に近似するということです。30年前に、僕らが目指したテーマは、自動車の運動、それと、その自動車の見え方に関する近似でした。車は運転して楽しいものですし、見ても美しいものです。そしてその車が走る世界の景色もまた楽しく美しいものです。車の運転を体験するのは今も昔もそれなりの手間が必要でしたから、それをプレイステーションのプレイヤーの皆さんにコンピューターを通して体験してほしいというのが最初のターゲットになりました。そういったそれまでなら不可能だった問題系に取り組むための道具立てがいよいよ揃ってきたというのが30年前のプレイステーション革命だったんですね。以来30年の時が経ち、最新のプレイステーション5プロの計算パワーは初代プレイステーションと比較しておよそ50万倍になりました。つまり最新作グランツーリスモ7は初代グランツーリスモと比較しておよそ50万倍の計算を行っているということになります。そしてその進化は今も続いています。未来への展望について補足しておきます。第一にこれまで行ってきたトップダウンかつ設計的なアルゴリズムによる森羅万象のモデル化に加えて、第二にデータドリブンのニューラルネットワークを用いたボトムアップかつ創発的なモデル化も実用になってきました。今後はその2つの手法を問題系によって使い分ける、つまりいいとこ取りをするというのがテーマになってくると思っています。私たちが過去30年行ってきたコンピューターによるシミュレーション、森羅万象の近似が新たなステージに向かっていると思います。今後のグランツーリスモの進化を楽しみにしていただければと思います。ありがとうございました。
Well, Gran Turismo is just one example of technical progress at Sony and Sony Interactive Entertainment. Each developer shares Sony's vision for advancing a state-of-the-art for world building. The Emotion Engine CPU introduced in the PS2 helps game designers to more accurately simulate reality in 3D world. This worked together with the Sony Graphic Synthesizer GPU, which delivers enhanced polygon rendering. PS3's Cell processor and RSX Reality Synthesizer GPU allow developers to cinematic type of storytelling in games. More advanced lighting, pixel shaders, shadowing, and more. PS4 gave developers an even richer palette for the world building with 4K resolution and HDR graphics. Those advancements are particularly evident in character design you can see here, and how polygon evolution gives those iconic characters more realism and depth. The breakthrough continued with the reality ray tracing, real-time ray tracing introduced in the PS5. But visuals aren't the only defining tools for world building. 3D audio gave developers powerful new tools to transport people. This gave players the ability to hear footsteps of nearby waterfalls. Cracking fire comes from different locations, just like in the real life. DualSense controllers, immersive haptic feedback, help ground the player in the world even more. Well, it's incredible to see how one piece of technology builds on another. So now, I'd like to introduce 3 amazing colleagues of mine who are building a new world to life through the latest technology in games, animation, and film. First, I would like to introduce you to the Team Asobi studio director, Nico Dosset. He's going to share how technology translates into magical experiences for players in Team Asobi's new title, Astrobot. Then we'll welcome Ben Aguilium, DFX supervisor at ImageWorks. Ben will share how ImageWorks uses technology to design character and world in Ghostbuster, Frozen Empire, and more. And finally, we'll hear from Torchlight Pipeline Supervisor Ray Jarrell. They will take us behind the scene, sharing how Torchlight helps creators build new world from ground up. So first up, I'd like to welcome to the stage my colleague, Nico Doucet. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. We use technologies in our games to make experiences fun and magical. So Team Asobi is a PlayStation studio based right here in Japan. And this is the team. Well, to be honest, the team is 65 members today. And it's a fun and diverse, very colorful team. And this is our latest game. So that's Astrobot. It came out last September to great reviews. And the game was praised for its gameplay, its graphics, but one recurrent comment that kept coming back was how it made people feel like kids again. So when we started the project, we embarked and we decided on 4 pillars to guide us through the conception. And one of those pillars was called Techno Magic. So today I will show you a few ways we went about creating that Techno Magic in Astrobot. So for us, an important part to always think about is that we treat the game as a toy. Okay? So we focus on interactions that are fun at the core and that you can repeat again and again just because they are giving you satisfaction. Now, we believe that it's okay to have repetition in a game, but it always has to be satisfying. So to make the world feel like a toy, well, we had to make that world highly reactive. So for example, we made all the vegetation react and light up when you walk through it. This is quite simple, but it's always fun and very magical. We also used a large number of physics objects, like floating leaves, and made sure they reacted to the player's action. That became a toy. Sometimes we hide these objects and make them tumble on the player to surprise them, and the reaction is always the same. You just want to run around and knock them around. And finally, we're also using some, you can cut some objects with Astro's lasers and then interact with the loose parts. It allows you to be creative and make your own experiments and rules. Okay. We also invested in big soft objects like balloons to let the player run on top of them. And while combining these with beautiful lighting and graphics possible with PS5, it made them really, really fun. We also made underwater bubbles that deform when you go through them, and they are fun physical toys that look very magical as well. We used fluids as well to create various water, goo, paint that you can run into just for fun. We use them in various ways. For example, you can let the paint run down to reveal secret passageways. You can control a paint gun as well to paint the level and reveal secret ledges. So it is a toy, but it's also an integral part of the game design. So besides making the game and the world reactive, we had another magical tool at our disposal, and that's the DualSense wireless controller. So we used the DualSense controller in the game, but it appears in a transformed, somewhat even cooler way. For example, it becomes a spaceship for Astro, and the character, that's our character here, and the handles become thrusters that you can feel in your hands. And then using the gyroscope, you can control the ship to travel between planets. We can also use the controller as a carrier to hold Astro's companion. And you can hear the robot's voices coming from the controller speaker, and by tilting the controller, you can even juggle these little guys. And all of that is really magical, and we often hear the comment from parents who say that their children really believed that little robots lived inside the controller. That's techno magic. But the star feature of this controller, DualSense controller, is the haptic feedback. So maybe you know this, but the DualSense has a special vibration system that is based on sound waves. So you can feel things like raindrops falling on your character. You can feel the texture of the floor that you're walking on. And it is hard to describe with words alone, but you have to try to fully appreciate this feature. And it truly adds a new sense to the game. And as a result, every interaction becomes that much more immersive and magical. But that magic is a delicate balance to achieve a good illusion, because that's really what we're talking about here. It's about creating an illusion, right? we have to combine three elements: visuals, sound, and haptics. And these three elements are a trinity. So if any one of them is missing or out of sync, the magic might not quite work the same way. We also use haptic feedback to let the player find a secret door. So here we have Astro running its hands against a wall, and you can feel the change of texture from rough to smooth inside your hands. And once you found the right spot that feels different, you can push and ta-da, a new secret door opens. So this is very simple but very effective techno magic using haptic feedback alone. And of course, combining the physical interactions from earlier with the haptic feedback of DualSense makes the world reactive, but also very, very immersive, as you can feel every single little collision with every little object in the world. And we have hundreds of examples like this in Astrobot, so I really invite you to give it a shot. So at Team Asobi, we've made Techno Magic a recurrent theme in all of our games so far. And we always reserve time to do R&D so we can find these magical moments. And you know, these demos at the beginning, they look very primitive, but the magic is always very tangible in them from the start. Of course, Techno Magic in itself is not enough to make a full game. On its own, it's only a cool tech demo that cannot extend to dozens of hours of fun. To go the long way, it needs to be combined with other important pillars. So in our game, in our case, that was game design, great controls, a charming look, music, sound effects, etc. And when all these elements come together into the final product, that's really when the real magic comes through. And finally, to create that techno magic, we need a team of techno magicians, right? People who are genuinely interested in delighting our players. That takes great technical skills, of course, but also a great dose of generosity and love. These are the people we have been looking for at Team Asobi. Solid game developers who love being the magicians behind the scenes, those invisible fairies pulling the strings to make players of all ages feel like children again. Thank you very much. And now, to share more about how Sony Pictures Imageworks create magic in the world of animation and VFX, I'd like to welcome to the stage Ben Aguillon.
Great job, Nico. Ever since I was young, I was captivated by movies. My imagination would go wild as I immersed myself in iconic universes. The supernatural world of Ghostbusters, the sleek agents of Men in Black, and the heroic yet relatable tales of Spider-Man, to name a few. Each movie left me imagining myself as a hero and wondering what it would feel like to actually live those adventures. Movies show me that with the right mix of imagination and innovation, even the wildest ideas can come to life. And I knew then that movie making was my calling. In 2005, while I was working in New York for a commercial post house, I got a phone call to join Sony Pictures Imageworks. I remember it vividly. It was a dream that I haven't yet woken up from. I knew that Sony Pictures Imageworks was an innovative company. And then I found out that my first project, Monster House, would be rendered using a groundbreaking ray tracer called Arno. Some of you might remember back then, to light a scene, we had to predetermine light positions, big supporting maps, and all these other tasks that could take way too much time. And if we didn't get the results we wanted, we had to start all over again. With Arno, which was co-developed at Imageworks as a partnership with Marcos Fajardo, we could move lights in the moment and see how that change affected everything else in the scene, saving time and expanding our choices. Ray tracing is now an industry standard, but at that time, to go all in with a brand new ray tracer that initially couldn't render motion blur or hair, it was a pretty bold move. But I was hooked, inspired, and ready for more. Since those early days, the industry has transformed together with you, artists and engineers, who have helped us build tools that propel our imaginations, redefining what's possible technologically and creatively. Our tools have become faster and more efficient, giving us the freedom to iterate, explore, and refine ideas in ways that were once out of reach. Today, we can experiment with multiple solutions, blending the best ideas to solve creative challenges. This flexibility has allowed us to build deeper relationships with filmmakers as creative partners, allowing us to truly collaborate and bring your visions to life. So let's show you how sharing technology really improves creative workflows. At ImageWorks, one of our core principles is the belief that collaboration drives excellence. Let's talk about open source tools like Alembic, Open Shading Language, and OpenColor.io that were essential to projects like Hotel Transylvania, The Amazing Spider-Man, and Men in Black International. Over time, these tools have set new standards across the industry. And building on this momentum, we introduced tools like OpenQ for render farm management, and more recently became a leading contributor to the Open Review Initiative, which supports a unified playback and review system, making it easier for artists and filmmakers to collaborate remotely all over the world. Our mission is to empower both artists and storytellers to create immersive worlds that resonate with audiences globally. Our collaborations on films like Mitchell's vs. the Machine and the Spider-Verse franchise exemplify our commitment to partnering with filmmakers in crafting unique, groundbreaking experiences from inception to completion. If you can dream it, we can build it together. Since then, we've continued to work on other exciting projects, most recently, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. How many of you remember what visual effects were like in the 80s? The look of optical compositing and practical effects that gave films a unique charm and tactile quality. In this project, we set out to blend classic 80s visual effects with modern technology, crafting an experience that feels both nostalgic and fresh. From ominous clouds to fiery characters and frozen cityscapes, each effect was carefully designed to bring a supernatural world to life while staying grounded in realism. The ominous cloud that symbolized the arrival of our main villain, Garaka, was inspired by water tank effects from the original film. We recreated the effect of liquid flow and combined it with natural weather simulations. This gave the ominous cloud a unique look, grounded in realistic physics, yet holding a supernatural essence. Here, for Melody, one of our main characters, we developed a custom flame simulation in Houdini, and we added specific fuel maps onto her skin. This enabled flames to emit in thin, elongated shapes that enhance the narrative and her character. Now, for Garaka, we built an animation rig and muscle system inspired by the physics of 80s animatronic puppets. His highly detailed skin texture was enhanced with frost and vapor layers from our effects team. Okay, freezing New York City and the iconic firehouse requires scattering thousands of icicles and frost layers, multi-projection matte paintings, and meticulous compositing to create a realistic frozen cityscape. Do you remember in the original film when our heroes had to cross streams to defeat Gozer? That was one of my favorite scenes. And well, in our film, we had an opportunity to reimagine new proton stream effects, including a scene where Garaka freezes one mid-battle by transforming its energy into a frozen solid. Also, during the third act, we introduce a new tri-beam proton stream layered with caustic effects, liquid emissions, and color shifts that sync with the practical on-set lighting. Our scope of effects in this project included bending fire, shattering frozen characters, blending CG with practical puppets, adding volume effects for the sewer dragon, and animating the Stay Puft Marshmallows. The artistry and care that went into each element in this film helped us honor a classic while pushing modern visual storytelling. As we continue exploring worlds for our next projects, I hope our creative efforts and technological advancements inspire you and a whole new generation of creators to develop new immersive worlds and inspiring stories together. And now, to speak more about next generation storytelling tools, I'd like to welcome to the stage Torchlight Pipeline Supervisor, Ray Gerald.
That was awesome. So, what is Torchlight? We're an advanced visualization studio right at the heart of Sony Pictures in Culver City, California. Our mission is simple, yet powerful. We bring Sony's cutting-edge technology directly to the fingertips of filmmakers and artists, helping them transform the incredible worlds they envision into cinematic reality. When you start to make a movie, there's a lot of questions that need answering. What will it look like? Where and when should we film? How on earth are we going to get the amazing action sequence of our dreams while sticking to the budget of our producer's dreams? Well, Torchlight's job is to find the answers. Often, these are very technical questions, so they require some technical solutions. That's why filmmakers coming to Torchlight are given access to our entire suite of custom virtual production tools. This includes experimenting with new R&D projects from across Sony, as you can see in these proof of concept videos. As with any innovation, this isn't just about using tools, it's about crafting them, specifically tailoring them to each filmmaker or artist. We use these tools to go beyond traditional roles like pre-visualization or VFX. We're there to support creators through the entirety of their creative process, from pre-production to the final pixel. Whatever your vision is, Torchlight is here to get it out of your head and onto the screen. One of the reasons our team at Torchlight is uniquely equipped to support creators is that we are creators too. Each of us is passionate about discovering how technology can elevate storytelling and, at the same time, keeping people at the center of the creative process. So my journey as a technical artist started when I was a theater major. I was working on an augmented reality adaptation of a beloved sci-fi novel performed as an immersive theater piece. What the heck does that mean? Basically, we built a world that the audience could walk through, where they could follow around different performers and even use superpowers in our virtual space. And I fell in love with this very literal intersection of art and technology, rocketing through this new world of tool building, of interactive touch designer installations, of computer vision, and, of course, the Unreal Engine. And today, as pipeline supervisor and effects technical director at Torchlight, I get to build tools that empower our artists and filmmakers. And I get to build some of the art myself, too. Or, to put it simply, I take all the things that slow artists down and I make them disappear. One of the best parts of my job is that it looks a little bit different every day. Some days are very engineering focused. I'll be in the Unreal Engine, writing shaders, building tools and effects that change the look and feel of the world as fast as the filmmaker can describe them. On other days, I'm helping filmmakers shoot on our virtual production stage. So what we do is we build out the entire 3D world of the film in the Unreal Engine, and then we use physical hardware to control virtual cameras in that world. We have an entire stage full of these custom camera rigs, from handheld cameras, a crane, a dolly, that are all built to feel as close to their live action counterparts as possible. In some cases, they're actually identical. We shoot these environments in Unreal so we can be making changes and discoveries in real time. Sometimes I even get to jump into the motion capture suit myself. A background in dance and martial arts comes in very handy in an engineering job, you know? I literally can't count the number of times my coworkers and I have thrown each other across a room to help block scenes, but these motion studies are incredibly important because a director can see and direct a fantasy character's performance as if they were actually standing in the room. And you know, there are a couple of films for which we did the final motion capture. I am very excited to bring my grandmother to the theater for those and make her guess which character is me. Let me give you an example of how powerful these workflows really are. Imagine being able to virtually scout out and film an entire sequence of shots before anyone has even gotten to location. Using satellite data and Sony's own photogrammetry tools, we virtually reconstruct a physical place in 3D to such a high level of detail that you can make all your mistakes here with us in the virtual world so you never have to make them in the real one. Because we can figure all of this out so quickly, we also leave room for that all-important element of filmmaking, play. We want to allow filmmakers to experiment and explore without the constraints of traditional production. To illustrate the breadth of what Torchlight is able to do, I will ask for some help from everyone's favorite head-gobbling symbiote, Venom. We got to work on so many sequences in this film. Watching Venom 3, you'll see camera animation that came directly off our volume, shot with our virtual cameras. For some other shots, we did the final compositing, and for still others, we did the pre-visualization, planning out every aspect of the action to prepare the filmmakers before the shoot. That pre-planning made filming those sequences so efficient, it actually wrapped multiple days early. And anyone in Hollywood can tell you, you never hear of things wrapping early. If you want to see all of our shots all polished up, I guess you'll just have to go see the movie. We don't just handle live action projects. Check out this motion test, where we're combining motion capture performance with traditional keyframed animation in Unreal Engine. We want the chameleon's movement pattern to be recognizable as the actor who played him and still have all the stylistic flair we love about traditional animation. The environment is also stylized in Unreal, allowing us to experiment with the visual language without going to other softwares or editing every asset individually. No matter the project, no matter the medium, Torchlight is here to help. Though we were officially announced in January of this year, we are growing rapidly and have already worked on upwards of 30 projects to various levels, working with a variety of teams both outside and inside of Sony, including, of course, right here in Japan. Earlier this year, we were thrilled to see Torchlight appear on a billboard in Shibuya. At the heart of Torchlight is this idea of one Sony. We collaborate with amazing teams across Sony to bring creatives' ideas to life faster than ever. Ultimately, Torchlight strives to support each filmmaker with Sony's groundbreaking technology, reclaiming time and redirecting it where it should be spent, on turning filmmakers' dreams into cinematic reality. Now that I've shared a bit more about Torchlight, for closing thoughts on his vision for the future of creation, please welcome back to the stage, Kitano-san.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you, Nico, Ben, and Ray, for joining us today. Wow, that's amazing, actually. The world building requires a true command of craft. And it's inspiring to learn from them. You know, really great. Well, then the question is, where do we go from here? We're experiencing the great breakthrough, first in deep learning, and now generative AI. It is clear that we have reached a watershed moment in creative technology. To me, this moment is comparable to the industrial revolutions right before the combustion engine has introduced. We are currently in the steam engine phase of AI, if you remember the previous industry revolutions, it gave us a power. Now, this industry revolution by AI gave us intelligence. It took a two-stage, steam engines and internal combustion engines. The days of internal combustion engine is yet to come, but we're going to see that soon. Now, we are seeing how large language model and the foundation model can change the way we work. We are starting to see how generative AI can support ideation process. And in the future, I believe we'll see AI help scientific discovery, partnering with the human scientists, accelerate scientific discovery, making a series of grand breakthroughs. Well, those tools show tremendous capabilities. It's promising, but we'll still have a long way to go. It's our responsibility to pursue those advancements in ethical way. AI ethics is a core consideration across our work at Sony, especially as we continue to support artists and creators around the globe. This means working closely with creators, preserve the most fulfilling aspects of creative process. During those big periods of transformations, this is huge, but collaboration between artists and technologists is essential. As Sony, we are committed to keeping humans at the center of the creative process. 4 years ago, we founded Sony AI to pursue just that. Groundbreaking research in AI to unleash human imagination and creativity. Our researchers often talk about how most promising use of AIs are not limited to productivity. Rather, the highest potential for AI might be to bring about a new form of human creativity altogether. AI makes human even more creative. In one project, the Gran Turismo Sophie, we developed a superhuman AI racing agent capable of competing against basic human drivers. We developed in close partnership with Yamauchi-san and his team at Polyphony Digital. GT Sophie is now a live feature in Gran Turismo 7. It's really good. It's really entertaining. You gotta play it. Agents like GT Sophie have a potential to change how games are developed by helping designers tap into new, entirely different form of game mechanics. You can use AI as the agent in the game and other processes. While we are excited about AI's potential, there are many other exciting technologies that team in Sony, across Sony, are developing and using to expand creative workflows. Ray just showed how Torchlight is exploring real-time tools. This work is happening within our R&D team at Sony. We're exploring how real-time tool can support game designers and filmmakers alike. Sony Innovation Studios in Culver City, for example, has been developing real-time content creation tools for Sony since 2018. The team developed a software called AtomView. AtomView empowers creators to build virtual worlds that are indistinguishable from reality, opening a new possibility for storytelling. As we look ahead in next generation tools, we are also supporting next generation creators because people will create world and creators are center of our concern. Through our collaboration at the University of Southern California, students are exploring the possibility of new transmedia experiences that spans across many genres of entertainment with game engines, head-mount displays, ride experience, and more. We're excited to see the next generation creators take this spirit of experimentation into their careers. Well, as an active researcher myself, I'll be getting involved in the problem that are critically important. The building foundations for new technologies that advance civilization. That's my core passion. And of course, storytelling is a critical part of civilization. Can you imagine this world without stories? That can be very boring. I know this is an ambition we share with this SIGGRAPH community. As Sony, we are here for creators. And we are honored to be among the peers who continuously expand their boundaries of what's possible for creators to achieve. Well, we look forward to partnering many of you to co-create world that inspire and entertain people around the world. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much.